everybody doing? How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing wonderful. Please get your libations. We have a show for you tonight covering not one but two topics, one that leads into another. But before I go there, please remember I have not selected a date, but where do we go from here? Chaos or Community, that is our next book club. Please pick it up. I would appreciate it. From the dark corners of my heart, I would appreciate if you would engage in the book club sincerely. So please do that for me, and you'll probably have more than enough time to read this book, because I haven't announced a date because the conference is coming up. A lot of stuff is happening. So please read it. I gotta post a link though, because Bakara sent me a free ebook in my email, and I gotta put that up. So also, if you want to, please, you in there right now, hit that like button for me. Cost you nothing. If you want to donate brown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell. You can do that as well. Subscribe to brown.com. Cost you nothing. Just gives me your email address in case I might need it. So please subscribe to brown.com. That's T-O, not two. Subscribe to brown.com. Please do that. Links for, if you want a t-shirt, links will be in the description, and they're in the previous show's description as well. If you want to do that, all the things you can do to help the show, you can do that. But let's get down to it, because we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about, and I want to talk about something that's going to lead into what I have to say about Byron L. It's going to lead into what I have to say about that lawsuit. I want to start with something. I kind of said it on Twitter, but I'm gonna bring it further here. The 1619 Project. If you are a subscriber to my newsletter, then you know that I put that link in the newsletter, and I said, you know what? You should read it. It's good history. You should read it. That was in the newsletter. The link to that is in the description as well. But I said you should read it. It's good history. Right? That's what I said. But there's something else that happens here that we're not acknowledging. And for those of you who don't know what the project is, this is it. There's several writers writing about slavery and the disparity that led all the way to here. So slavery and what we talk about. Slavery and accrued disadvantage. That is the bulk of the project, right? And I'm gonna understand, just stick with me. And you're going to figure out how I go from one place to another. Before I started today's show, Antonio sent me another clip because I had some criticisms of it, even though I said go read it. I had my criticisms, right, of it. And one of my criticisms is that, like, that's kind of my project. That's kind of our project. This project doesn't exist without the energy of ADOS. This project doesn't exist without our push for reparations. This project doesn't exist without everybody who's in the chat right now. This project doesn't exist at all without us doing the work that we have put in to make this project exist. So it's really kind of our project. But what I saw Nicole Hannah-Jones say shows the part where it kind of diverged from being my project to being your project and being kind of a milquetoast project. Let me just show you. I'm going to just read this for you. This is what she said in I think this was a PBS NewsHour interview. She said, "We have made tremendous progress in a very short period of time, really just 1 or 2 generations out of legal Jim Crow. You can have someone like me at the New York Times producing this work. It is really a story of Black ascension. Once the legal barriers have been removed," she said, Black ascension. That's like Black girls magic. That's like Black excellence. What do you mean by Black ascension? We have not moved anywhere when you look at the racial wealth gap. We are still twice as likely to be unemployed. You all know the data. We have not moved. We have not ascended. Just because you have doesn't mean we have. You don't get to say that. See, there's something going on, and it's something very problematic. Because I give credit to Dr. Kevin Cosby, the Angela Project. That's what the Angela Project is and was. The Angela Project is and was not only the 400-year slavery, Angela, the first slave. It was not only that, it's a reparations project, right? See, when you look at this, paulsowers.com, when you look at this, This is, and Antonio and I have been very much involved with Dr. Kevin Cosby out of Louisville St. Stephen's Church with this. But reparations, let me just put this up in terms of what the goal, in terms of the direction we're headed. Reparations, definitionally payment provided in compensation for a wrong harm done, is central to the Angela Project's mission in helping effect meaningful social justice for Native Black descendants of slaves. That's what we were working on. That's what we are working on. That is our 1619 project. It has an identifiable end game in terms of what we want to see and how we want to see it. Because you can't just talk. Listen, if you don't understand anything else I'm going to say when I talk about this Byron Allen lawsuit, understand that race and racial injustice is not an exploratory project. It's not something you do just for the sake of history. You have to have an end game. You have to have a restorative justice game. And I don't see that when you tell me we've come such a long way because you're at the New York Times. Understand that. People doing. Understand that. It doesn't mean that. You being there doesn't mean that. When you talk about black ascension, how do you write about disparity all the time and then get on this show and talk about black ascension? I don't understand what we're doing. And this lawsuit is going to show you that nobody else understands what we're doing either. Because you can't tell me, well, like some people did, Yvette, this is a great start. No, we've done this great start before. You have to have a different kind of start. You have to have a start where you say, this is the thing. This is what is necessary for us. This. For our group, this. It has to be a reparations project. It has to be a reparations project. If you don't have it as a reparations project, you're missing the mark. And there's no mention of us or what we've done. There's just a mention of we've come so far. And we still suffer disparities. But that's not the end game. See, let me tell you what the problem is. If you want to understand what the real problem is, I'll tell you what the real problem is. The real problem is people don't want to be the same way. They don't want to keep that same energy. So you don't want to. You don't want to be the same way everywhere you go. That's why it's no picture tonight. Just I'm just blank space. You don't want to be divisive. Reparations is divisive. See, because what happens, or what has to happen, Nicole Hannah-Jones, when Kamala Harris says how great your piece is, but she says she's not going to do anything specifically for black people, it's your job, since you wrote this thing and you pitched this project and you're selling out, it's your job to come under her feet and say, you know what, Kamala, I get you. I appreciate that. But what are you going to do specifically for ADOS people? What are you going to do? It's your job to do that. See, what people like to do is leave me and Tone with all the work, all the stress, and then you run off and get a Pulitzer. No, ma'am. No, sir. And everybody else in that project. You all will walk away with genius grants and good lives and leave us with the work and the burden. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of everybody saying a lot of stuff that sounds like stuff we said and then leaving us with the burden of having to deal with it while you walk off with a Pulitzer and a $500,000 genius grant. I have no problem with you getting whatever you get. But if you do it, you got to do the work. And doing the work isn't going around saying this is a story of ascendancy. That's not the work. That's not what this is. Our story in this country is a story of flatness. Our wealth is flat. How dare you? There's a story in there about the racial wealth gap. How do you say ascendancy when that is one of the stories? Don't make no sense. How? None of this makes sense. And you got to tell all of your story too, your personal story. You got to tell it all. You have to tell it. You have to tell it all. And let me just put one thing out here. I want you to understand one thing. Our project is the reparations project, even the Black Agenda project, what we're doing here in terms of what's happening to Byron Allen. This is a transformational project. This is not a milquetoast project. You have people who are saluting this project who are all about middle of the road establishment politics. That's not it. When you see that, you know you hit the wrong mark. I need you to keep that same energy that you have on Twitter. I need you to keep all of that same energy, because let me tell you what you did. Now, I think those of you know I have been online for a very long time talking about how we need to use, you know, how the American flag is our flag. And we need to use our flag because we're anchored in this country. And let me tell you, the people who stood on these perches, I'm talking to you, Nicole Hannah-Jones, you did not say anything when people said I'm an imperialist and I'm a sellout for using the flag. But then when we go to your essay, you start talking about the flag. Like most young people, I thought I understood so much, when in fact I understood so little. My father knew exactly what he was doing when he raised that flag. He knew that our people's contributions to building the richest and most powerful nation in the world were indelible, and that the United States would simply not exist without us. That sounds familiar. That sounds very familiar. But you have never, in the time that I have been here, in the time that I have been online taking all this heat, you never came out and said, you know what, Yvette Carnell is right. So what happens is that I'm in a situation. I have to be in a situation where I'm the person and Antonio's the person who takes all the heat for this. And then everybody else walks away with all of the stuff that goes with it. All of the good that comes with it, you walk away with that. And I walk away with all of the heat. And ADO's people who are online, you all who are in the chat right now, you walk away with all the heat. And everybody else walks away with a Pulitzer. It can't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have your other guy. What's his? Let me bring him up. Hold on a second. Y'all remember what Jelani Cobb did at that meeting when we were talking about reparations? And somebody brought up ADOS, and he said, you know, it's basically when you talk about ADOS, when I hear stuff like that, it's like, is your plantation better than my plantation? That's what he said. That's what he said. But you're in support of this. This is fine though. This is fine though. This is supposed to be okay. So that's the same thing she said. When you say we built the richest country in the world, understand the ineptness of Jelani Cobb. When you say, when Nicole Hannah-Jones says we built the richest country in the world, and that is a case for reparations. We built the wealth that we don't have. It's not about whose plantation is better than who's ever else, but you support this. See, y'all don't have the same energy. You all who are doing these projects, y'all don't keep the same energy. None of this works. If y'all leave this, see, Ta-Nehisi Coates did that 2014. He wrote the case for reparations. It was a project, a writing project. He wrote it. White people loved it. He got a Genius Grant, and nothing happened. And nothing happened till we got started as ADOS and started doing something. Just doing history don't work for this. That's not how you do this. You don't get to walk away with the spoils and leave us with the work. Bring your butt back here. I need you to holler at Kamala. She hollered at you. You gonna holler at her? I need all of y'all to holler and say, well, because of this specific disadvantage, we need a specific redress. And you just can't say I'm in favor of reparations. No, I need a drum beat. I need you to be on this all the time. You got the money. Y'all got the 500. Y'all got the good jobs. You leaving me out here with YouTube money while you run away with that money to do something we already did? Screw you. No. This is, you don't understand how wrong this is. Nobody understands. Like this, the Angela Project, which was Dr. Cosby's and is Dr. Cosby's project that Antonio and I joined, that is a reparations project. You all have replaced or tried to replace a reparations project with a history project. It's good history, wonderful history, but you can't leave that history without coming back to do your job. Your job is the reparations project. You're not going to run off and say you wrote some flowery, wonderful stuff about how blackness affects everybody and race and we black excellence and run off into that dark night. You better bring your butt back here. Do the work. You're not going to keep leaving me with the work. You're not going to, you better, Nicole Hannah-Jones, you better not let Kamala Harris use you for cover. You can't just say, well, I didn't respond, girl. No, you got to tell her you don't get to use my work for cover. You got to do some real stuff, reparations for ADOS. That's what you got to do. You're not going to just walk off. See, let me tell you what should have happened. They should have did all that 1619, and then there should have been another article about reparations. And that article should have had 3 bylines. That article should have been by Antonio Moore, Yvette Carnell, and Dr. Sandy Darity. You should have had all of that stuff, and then the trifecta should have been one article by all of us about how to repair this. That would have been perfect. But y'all always leave without doing the real ask. And you say, and some of y'all will say, well, maybe the Times didn't let them go all the way in. Well, I ain't got no, that's their problem. You better figure it out. You better figure it out. And I wanted to say that because I needed to say it. No other reason. I needed to say it. And I'll get back to it. But, you know, I just don't understand what is happening at this moment. Like with what Antonio and I have been doing and what we're talking about in terms of this being an actual project that is about restorative justice. Don't talk to me about you working at the Times. You don't matter. See, I understand that. Like in the sense of like the collective, that's why I always say I'm not that person. I always say I'm not into Messiah leadership because I'm saying I don't matter as an individual. I matter in terms of what I can articulate about the needs of the group. As an individual, not at all. I matter in terms of how and what I articulate for this group. That's it. And if you don't understand that, step off. Step out of the room. And so people ask me, well, it can't just be reparations, Yvette. What else is it about? Is there anything else? You know, it can't just be about reparations. It's a lot of stuff. Right now, when you look at what's going on with Byron Allen, let's talk about it. Let's have the conversation. Let me put this up first. All these people who all to say they hate Trump. So what you talking about? What could they be doing? Well, what could they be doing? They just wrote the 1619 project. They did that, Yvette. You can't let 1619. I'm all in favor of that, but you can't let 1619 override what's happening to us in 2019. You can't do that. You cannot do that. And let me pause and just give some background in terms of this Byron Allen lawsuit, right? Byron Allen owns the Weather Channel. Byron Allen is a billionaire. What's happening right now, and what all of these people who are talking a lot should be engaged in and talking about right now, is happening right now. This isn't about Byron. This is about a slave law. This is a Reconstruction era law about our opportunity that Byron Allen is using to defend himself in the Supreme Court. This is our anti-discrimination law being taken away. And the reason I have Donald Trump's picture up, President Trump's picture up, is because his Department of Justice has stepped into this on the side of Comcast. Now understand one thing for me. Comcast, Donald Trump has railed all the way against Comcast and the fake media and all of that. You got to understand what it takes is a black man who is trying to do business and trying to win for them to come together for the sake of whiteness and to get him out of here, because that's all it's about. They trying to get you out of here. They trying to get us out of here. This ain't about Byron. This is about that law. This law is intended to protect us. That's the law he's using. We need that law to exist. So why am I not seeing the Urban League, NAACP, write amicus briefs, right? But that's what's supposed to happen. You write your amicus in favor of this law and everything that happens, and you're supposed to, with all those corporate donations, regardless of who has what money, you're supposed to absorb some of that because it affects all of us. It's not about Byron. This is not about him. This law is important because it's about anti-discrimination. So what am I talking about? When you go back to 1866, when you look at that law, it's intended to allow us to sue and be integrated into the business environment, that sort of thing. That's what it's intended to do. So you have this law that's intended to make us whole, because that's what it was. These people are citizens, blah, blah. It's intended to make us whole. This is a Reconstruction era law. You're talking 1865, 1866. That's what this law is. This law really needs to be expanded, but let me show you. Let me just show you something really quick. They're changing the test. So the way Byron, because Byron Allen won like twice in the Ninth Circuit, I don't even understand why y'all are here, except for you got with your boys in the Supreme Court, none of this real far right wing, and you said, hey, I need y'all to help me get Byron Allen out of here. I'm gonna get this black man out of here. I'm gonna get and when I get him out of here, I'm gonna get all these black people out of here. I'm gonna get everybody that's coming after him out of here. And they like, you know what? Bet. So the way Byron Allen won is saying when you read the law and you say, well, if race was a motivating factor, right? If race is a motivating factor, you win. They want to do it different. They want to say it different. Here's what they want to change: the motivating factor to the but-for test. Well, Yvette, what's the difference between like a motivating and a but-for test? Here's the but-for test. The but-for test would require Allen's company to show that Comcast would have carried the studio's channel but for racial bias. In other words, that discrimination tipped the scales towards denial. Not just that discrimination was a motivating factor in the studio's failure to secure a Comcast contract. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that they're changing the standard to an impossible standard. With the but for race, had it not a but for race, he would have been in the room. Or but for race, he would have owned the channel. You can't prove that. There's unless there's a smoking gun or somebody leaks an email, you're not going to be able to prove that. You're not going to be able to prove a but-for case. They're setting an impossible standard to prove discrimination. This is awful for anti-discrimination law, and it's awful for ADOS. This is a nail in a coffin. Understand something. Regardless of what happens, right? Regardless of what happens, Byron Allen has a weather channel. He's a rich man. He's going to be all right. He would be better if the lawsuit, if they had just done the right thing and not been racist, he'd have been better. But that's not what happened. But he's going to be all right regardless. We're going to be screwed. They are shutting down how we are able to protect our rights in this country. There's nothing you can do outside of the way we won our rights. So much was in the courts, in the law, lawsuits. Keep them going, keep them going, keep them going, keep them going. Yes. We're losing our right to sue for what we need to be able to sue for. A white man in the White House, who everybody has said, and I agree, is a racist, is suing a black man so that he can't use a slave law during Reconstruction to prevent discrimination, and ain't nobody talking? Ain't nobody got nothing to say? Ain't nobody got no defense? Let me tell you something. Mark Morial and your slick back head self, let me tell you something. If y'all don't come forward and write amicus briefs on behalf of Byron Allen, we should throw all of these organizations in the trash. Throw you in the garbage. Because how much you make, Mark Morial? Don't you make like $9 million a year, some outrageous number at the Urban League? And you can't do this because it's about the law. It's not just about Byron Allen or anybody else. This is a law that needs to be enforced. As a matter of fact, if you want to ask me, quite frankly, the motivating factor standard is still too low. Like, I would want to expand if race was a part of it at all. If race entered into the decision at all, it don't even have to be a motivating factor. We should be working to make that standard, to broaden that out. They're narrowing the scope to a point where it's impossible to sue. You can't ever prove a but-for standard, but-for race. You can't prove that unless you were in the room and you have a recording of them calling you a monkey. That's the only way you can prove that. And guess how often that happens? There you go. But instead of dealing and like really talking, we're talking about stuff like this. Well, former Illinois Congressman, Al, if you don't get somewhere and shut up, please. I'm too tired. Because let me tell you why, Al. Let's go back to the good Rev Al, who was on TV today for the Eric Garner case and all of that. And I appreciate that. I believe the officer who choked Eric Garner to death should be in jail, not just fired. But let me tell you something, people. The work that prevents that from happening is systemic. You can't do it one person at a time. You don't do that one case at a time. You systemically change the law and change the laws and change the framework and change the hierarchy. Right? That's what you do. I don't know if people understand that that's how you do the collective work. I don't know. And I want to find something that I'm looking for, because I don't know if you all remember. Here it is. I put up Mark Morial because Mark Morial and Al Sharpton were two people who signed off on the merger. Remember the Comcast merger? Comcast, NBC, you remember that merger? Now let me show you something. They signed off on this. They signed off on this merger, and then Al Sharpton got a job. That never happens. Understand that never happens. Last year, Comcast was lining up the Reverend Al Sharpton to lobby for its bid for NBC Universal. This year, the cable news channel owned by NBC Universal, MSNBC, is weighing whether to make him a daily television host. Again, fam, that never happens. It's not something that happens, that you get lined up to be a daily host. But he got lined up to be a daily host because he signed this memorandum of understanding. They signed the Al Sharpton and Mark Morial signed this memorandum of understanding with Comcast and them and NBC Universal. And they said they were going to, whereas diversity is a core principle of the way in which Comcast and NBCU conduct their respective businesses, the National African American Leadership Organizations urge the Comcast and NBCU improve upon their current diversity efforts in the area of corporate governance. How you gonna say that? Listen, understand when you're dealing with morons. This is a bad, you can read this on your own. This is a bad little stupid thing. Improve upon. Diversity. It's no specifics. The people that you have in charge, the people that we have in charge with leading us are awful. And nobody wants to call them on it. You have to understand the law that Byron Allen is suing is absolutely necessary, because you have to be able to go after businesses. One of the things that his lawsuit revealed is that nobody was doing ads or doing anything with black people. Like, these companies weren't doing any business, weren't doing any advertising, they were doing nothing, but that's what it revealed. Nobody is talking about the outcome of this Byron Allen lawsuit, that what it revealed about how they just don't do anything with us and we don't care. Like he said, we give Al Sharpton a chicken dinner. Well, now he only eats salad and bananas. I'm sorry. He has a salad and banana a day. I don't know how a human body exists on that in terms of nutrition, but that's what he does. So you give him that little cheap stuff. You give him a little show. And then what you say about the show? Here's what you said. The Comcast chief executive, Brian L. Roberts, and the head of the company's lobbying effort, David L. Cohen, met with Sharpton and other representatives of minority groups to talk about their bid early last year. That meeting, Mr. Sharpton said later, was the most important factor in his decision to support the Comcast support Comcast and urge the Federal Communications Commission to approve the deal. Executives at MSNBC say they believe that Sharpton, a regular guest on the channel for many years. Now understand, let's go back here and we're going to come right back. Understand that this was a 2011 article. Okay. So executives at MSNBC say they believe that Mr. Sharpton, a regular guest on the channel for years, may shore up the ratings at 6 p.m., a crucial hour that helps to set up the channel's prime time programming. Since Al Sharpton is not on anymore, you know that's a lie. It was never about that. Al Sharpton never shored up anything. See, they brought you in 2011. Obama's reelect. We need him out there to help Obama get reelected. We give him a little money. We throw him a little change. He approves the merger. He don't need a lot of money. He don't know nothing. He's slow. He used to preach on the corner. He used to run around with jumpsuits on. Give him a little money. He's still the same dude he always been. Throw him a little money. He gonna come over here and do what he gotta do for us. We gonna give him a little TV show. It's gonna help Obama. Obama gonna be cool with us, and we all good. And he get his chicken dinner, or his banana and salad, or what he eat now, what he says he eat now with his diet, whatever. He gets his food. You don't know enough to lead us in this space. You know enough to protest. You don't know enough to be in this space and have a leadership position in this space. And you have been antiquated. You have been not enough for a long time. And somebody should have told you a long time ago that you shouldn't be in this space and that what you're doing is wrong. And that who you are is wrong. Your foundation is wrong. And you should come forward and say, you know what? I made a mistake. I did this wrong. I approved this merger and then they going after a black man. But you mad because Byron Evans sued you too. But he sued you for the right reasons because you blessed it. You blessed it. You blessed it and your slick haired friend did too. You blessed that deal. That deal is not good because it's not about, they're not just going to rule against Byron Allen at the Supreme Court. This is a Supreme Court case. Understand that. If they decide to rule against the law that they're ruling, if they decide against Byron Allen, they're deciding against a law that we need. A law that we need expanded. They're narrowing it to the point that we can't even use it. We can't even use an anti-discrimination law that is intended to protect us from racist and white supremacy. We can't even use it. And the people who say they care about white supremacy are not at the table. They're not talking about us. They're talking about 1619 in terms of flowery language and stuff. This is awful. And let me tell you something. If these people decide that they are not going to write an amicus brief, if the NAACP, if the Urban League say we're not doing it, we're not writing any amicus briefs, we have to throw those organizations away and start from scratch. It's hard. I understand. But this is a big lawsuit. And the law that is being used, which was written during the Reconstruction era to protect our interests and our rights to do business and sue and be in certain spaces, if you are not going to write an amicus brief in favor of that, if you're not going to publicize that, you have no standing. Why are you in this space? Why are you here? It's Donald Trump siding with a big white organization against a black man. Now let me tell you something about what wasn't, I think Byron donated to Byron Allen donated to Biden, but people are like, well, wasn't he a Republican? Listen, let me tell you something. Nobody asked when Robert Smith, that was his name, at Morehouse, when he gave all the money to the Morehouse kids, to the Morehouse graduates, nobody said, well, is he a Republican? Or is he a Democrat? I don't know. Because he was given a gift. Let me tell you something. This lawsuit, this Supreme Court thing that we're involved in, if we were to win or if they were to back off, or we could get Comcast to drop it all together. That's a win. That's your gift. Byron's going to be chilling regardless. That's my gift. That's your gift. We get to use that law later. We need to demand, the Urban League, the NAACP needs to demand, Comcast drop this lawsuit. You already lost twice in the Ninth Circuit. What are you going to the Supreme Court? Drop this. Drop it. Not because of anybody or anything, but because our lives and our livelihoods and our futures are at stake. Who do you think you are? Drop it. But see, you got people. Let me tell y'all something. There is a reason. I want y'all to understand this. You don't understand nothing else. There is a reason why the only two. Remember after MSNBC purge did their Negro Whisperer purge. Y'all remember that? There's a reason why the only two Negroes left were Joy Reid and Al Sharpton. Remember when they marched Melissa Harris Perry out of there? Who was there to take her place? Joy Reid, smiling and happy. Everybody was protesting. They did Melissa Harris Perry wrong, and I can't believe this. Joy Reid didn't give a care. You know why? She's one of them. She don't care. They are there for a reason. How are you not talking about this? You talk every day about how awful Trump is. Trump is now Trump. Listen, the Trump's Department of Justice put 6 attorneys on this. They're trying to shut this down, and you have said nothing. If you are black and in the media right now, you have said nothing. You are complicit in white supremacy. Because this law matters, and we've never really got to do it, got to use it like we need to use it. And finally, we see a black man who's in a space to really I'm going to use it. And they're trying to shut him down. And you don't understand, by shutting him down, they're shutting us down. Where are you, Joy Reid? Where are you, Al Sharpton? You owe us an apology. Where are you, Mark Morial, with your little manicured nails and your little cufflinks? Where are you, doll? Where are all of you when we're talking about justice for a group of people? When we're talking about an actual law that should be expanded and not narrowed? Where are you? But I can tell you exactly kind of where you are. You're talking about how, immigrants have to wear ankle monitors, and ain't that awful? Or whatever, and that's awful. And this is wild coming from you, Joy Reid, because you used to basically be a Republican, if I understand correct, with some of the stuff they found out when they went through your stuff. I don't understand what's wrong with you. You should really do what you doing. But you play both sides. You a Democrat, but you used to be this. You were just trying to get in where you fit in. That's why you didn't stick around when Melissa Harris Perry got the boot. I understand. I see your whole game. Not part of it. I see the whole game. I don't care how many of y'all block me, boot me, don't want to talk. I never wanted to have a conversation with y'all anyway. For what? Nobody wants to be involved in some kind of child. This is why, understand when you say we need our own media. This is why we can't have it. Because in order to have your own media, you need to be able to sue and win. The only reason Byron didn't get help from the NAACP, gets all those corporate donations. They didn't help. Nobody helps. The only way you get to sue and do that is to have money. You got this man who owns a Weather Channel, a billionaire, and he sued because he has the money to sue. This is millions of dollars, and he might not win. And you know why? If he don't win, you know why? Because Negroes who would benefit didn't go to bat. And we weren't able to see, forget the person or the individual. I'm going to bat because I need these laws to stand. And the people who are set up to protect us are over there talking about everything from ICE to, oh my God, Trump is such a racist. Yeah, he is. But let's get to the specific ways in which he's a racist. He's racist in terms of what he's doing right now at the Supreme Court, in terms of the Department of Justice, and how they're all coming together. He hates Comcast. And he hates them. Trump does. And they hate him too. But they're all willing to come together for the sake of white supremacy to get Byron Allen out of here. Because we don't need you in here. Because you being here and this law standing means we might have more Negroes who grow businesses, media businesses, and able to do it. That might mean that, hey, maybe Yvette Carnell and Antonio come after them and do some real media politics and reach millions of Negroes. We don't want that. We're shutting you down. Understand this is awful. Understand what this means. Got a show. Well, he got a show. Mr. Sharpton, this is about, remember this article. We're going right back to this one real quick because I think I left the quote out. So, Mr. Sharpton reaffirmed his support when the National Action Network and other African American leadership groups signed on to the diversity plan with Comcast. We don't even need a diversity plan. We're talking about ADOS. Screw a diversity plan. That's why you're doing it all wrong. The plan included a commitment by Comcast to seek expanded participation of minorities on its news and public affairs programming. What? If you don't get anything from this, fam, I want you to start understanding language. Language. By Comcast to seek. There's no commitment. To seek the expanded participation. What does participation mean? I can show up and do the lighting and I will be participating in participation of minorities in ADOS, on its news and public affairs programming. Please understand that is nothing. They walked in there and walked away with nothing. And they left us with nothing. You have, if you don't understand anything else, you have to understand that. You have to understand that. And give me 1 second. I want to find one other image for you because it's just all very interesting how this plays out. But I have one other image I put somewhere. Talk amongst yourselves. Because Mark Morial had a lot to say about this too. It's not just it wasn't just Al Sharpton. They all gave Comcast cover for this stuff they did. And that's a problem. Here it is. Pop. Here we go, fam. Hold on 1 second, fam. I want to show you Mark Morial's quote during that period. Because one of the problems that we have too is forgetfulness. We really have a problem with forgetfulness. So this is what Mark Morial said. This agreement represents a positive step in the right direction for the principle of diversity, inclusion, and economic opportunity, added Mark Morial, president of the National Urban League. We applaud Comcast and NBC Universal for its willingness to enter into written commitments toward the goal of building a first-class communications concern. What? Building a first-class communications concern. I don't know what that means. He can't talk. We thank them for their insight and commitment. They didn't give you anything. They didn't give you a commitment. They just gave you a set of goals. And because you don't know enough, or you just okay with your salary, you get paid. You probably got paid off and they said, we're going to make this amount. We're going to set you up. That's what happened, right? Right? And see, this is who you are. See, we let a lot of people who are bad at politics do politics. Let me say that one more time. We let a lot of people who are bad at politics do politics. So when I say that, I mean this. Do y'all remember this? Do y'all remember when these people went to the White House and they said that they was going to get a black agenda? They was going to have a conversation. We're going to talk to Obama about this. We're going to get this heard. They went to the White House and Obama sent them Negroes outside in the snow. Al Sharpton before his banana and salad days, and Mark Morial and Ben Jelson. Well, Ben Jelson didn't even get part of the umbrella or hat. They came out with a goose egg. They came out with absolutely nothing from Obama. And we still let them move around and talk to us like they're real leaders. The people in that photo are not your leaders. They proved that. Now they don't even know how to ask. just outside. You still outside in the snow. Hypothermic self. So I want to go now to some of the things that you know, it's such a sad situation, honestly, in so many ways, because the community, our community, has not been, what do you say, the best way to say it is, we haven't been galvanized to kind of really deal with what's happening. And we need to be galvanized to deal with what they're doing. Like, what they're doing is awful, and we haven't been really galvanized to deal with it. So I want to go, before I go to break or anything, just to go to there was a great Deadline article. Look it up yourself if you haven't seen it. But it goes to, it has a few great quotes from Byron Allen about what is happening. And it says, Byron Allen rips Comcast and Donald Trump's DOJ for institutionalized racism as SCOTUS showdown looms. And let me just read a little bit of this for you. And this is what he said. He said, "This is historic." The Entertainment Studios boss said of the August 15th brief filed by the Fed seeking to tighten the definitions of a Reconstruction era statute in Comcast's favor. Donald Trump's DOJ and Comcast are working together to destroy a civil rights statute in the Supreme Court. Understand, that's not a Byron Allen statute. That's a civil rights statute that we need. Okay, let's keep moving. You have one of the biggest media companies in the world, which has been beating up on Donald Trump for racism, and now they are saying we will work together to maintain institutionalized racism in America in this amicus brief they delivered last Thursday. Allen asserted in the starkest terms, yeah, absolutely. The Fed's brief leaning into the law to require that entertainment studios, that's Byron Allen, has to prove that race was not merely a motivating factor, as the Ninth Circuit interpreted the statute earlier this summer. Now, under the DOJ's take of the statute, Allen's lawyers could be required to prove that race was absolutely only reason that Comcast didn't place the company's channels on its distribution services and platforms. For Allen, the result is a near impossible standard for entertainment studios or any other person or entity availing themselves of the statute as it presently stands. The statute is over. That's what it means. Like, if what the DOJ is trying to do is just kill the statute. Like, understand that. They're trying to just kill it. They said we need to go to the Supreme Court and change the definition of the statute so African Americans cannot use it, and we can compromise everyone's civil rights, Allen told Deadline of the sudden paperwork by the DOJ offering the Comcast and their well-funded lobbyists in D.C. an advantage at the Supreme Court. Comcast is, in the name of profits, is compromising everyone's civil rights, the CEO and Joe Biden donor claimed. If you think you have a good case, take me to court. Deal with me. Don't jeopardize everyone's civil rights. See, what happened is this. They saw an opportunity. Like, yeah, we lost in the Ninth Circuit. That's fine. But what we're going to do is, because we lost, we got an opportunity still, because this is our White House, right? In terms of white supremacy, and we got a bunch of, we can just take this to the Supreme Court and just knock him all the way out, regardless. Like, that's social capital, that's relationships, and when we knock him out, we can knock the rest of these Negroes out too. So, see, what they want, they're not even really worried as much about Byron Allen. They worried about him, yeah, because they don't want him to be there. But they don't want another Byron Allen. No, you can't. No, it's like what we talked about. No, we don't want another one. We're not doing another one. It's kind of like what we talked about with that Rich Paul rule. No, you got in. Yeah, but we know now how you got in, how you're trying to stay in. We're going to take care of that. For the people who come after you. See, Byron's fine. Are you? Am I? No. We need all the laws. But they're going to make the standard so high. That's how you kill a law. You just make the standard so high that nobody ever gets there. I can't prove that it was but for race. I can't prove that. Well, that's the standard, dear. If you can't prove that, then I don't know. If you can't prove that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I don't know how you prove discrimination if you can't do it. I don't understand. Well, I can't prove that. Like, how would I prove? Well, if you can't do it, I don't know. The law is the law, and we are a law and order country. How about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. See, you can't, I said it before, but like you can't get stuck in 1619 to where you're not dealing with 2019. Why do I keep saying 1919 like I'm in a stagecoach? But you can't deal with like 2019. This is happening here and now. And like nobody's mentioning it. Nobody's talking about it. About how big this is a Supreme Court case. This is not still in the night. This is Supreme Court. They're going to give this, they're planning to give this to Comcast. And we're not even paying attention enough to know like that we should be supporting Byron because that law that he's using is for all of us. And they're trying to use this as an opportunity to gut it. And I'm going to tell you something else. Like there's a lot to tell. But I'm going to tell you something else. Like if this doesn't forget, like people will say to me, well, Yvette, I hate when people say my name. But anyway, like that. But people say, well, Yvette, here's what I'd say. Everybody loves to give unsolicited opinions and stuff. Well, I would say, if it were me, it's not you, but okay, that what we need to do is like you talk, see the problem, Yvette, is that you talk about, but see, that's why we have to vote to get Supreme Court justice. No, we got to do more than that. It's got to be bigger than that. We got to start really talking again about court packing. You remember, I don't know if you all remember FDR. I know they say now, no, it wasn't about packing as much as getting the justices were over age and they was trying to get the old justice out of there. Listen, we got to start talking about court packing. We don't have a choice. What choice do we have? See, this is what nobody wants to do. We're talking about transformational politics. We have to be willing to do transformational politics. This little stuff we're doing is nothing. Like we can't do this little milquetoast stuff. Well, I'm at the New York Times and I can't imagine. This is Black Ascension. This is Black Girl Magic. It's wonderful. No, it's not wonderful because you there. This is a group game. Wealth is a group endeavor. It's not about one person. It's not wonderful because, well, it's just, we are just, no. What's wrong with you? I expected better of you. I'm so disappointed in so many people. But we're going to have to start talking about transformational stuff. Like, we just going to pack the court then. Ain't going to be no more Merrick Garlands where Obama's just running around kissing butt. No, we're going to pack the courts. We're not doing this no more. You're not going to take these Reconstruction laws off the books and like destroy our lives and our opportunity to do that. No, we're finished. We're not doing that anymore. We have to start having transformational conversations because politics, as usual, how we normally do it is not working. Reparations. That's the 1619 project. I don't want to hear anymore about just how race is impacting us. Everybody know that. I know some right-wing Republicans or racists are in denial. Everybody know that though. You got to be full-throated about this when you in here. You got to be full-throated. How do you talk about everything that happened to us and not talk about this lawsuit, this Byron Allen lawsuit? All of y'all, how do you not talk about this lawsuit with this Reconstruction era law and what it means? What are you doing with yourselves? What are you doing with our community? What are you doing? Like, where are you trying to leave us? This is not good enough. You are not good enough. So I'm going to take a quick break as usual, and we will come back and we will have the conversation about 1619 project and the Byron Allen lawsuit, and we'll just talk about it. It's a lot to talk about. Some stuff I didn't get to too that we need to get to. All right. Okay, fam, we are back. I am going straight to the calls. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm going 310. I'm coming to. Hold on, let me make sure I got this set up first. I always set stuff up. Sometimes I make mistakes. Okay, 310. What's going on?
What up? Yeah, this Tone Talks. Great show.
Thank you.
I kind of want to just talk about the 1619 project along with the Byron Allen lawsuit. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting week. I mean, it's really been an interesting last year, particularly the last few months. But it's been an interesting week. I've talked to Byron a few times now, and let me start off by just telling everybody that I still hold, and Yvette still holds to the whole concept of what's better than one billionaire, a black middle class. But what you're looking at right now is, at the same time, in a world of billionaires, you need a billionaire to be your weapon against business, against government. Because if not, we can't even activate this lawsuit. Like, literally, millions have been spent litigating this, the kind of money that's supposed to be coming from the Urban League and NAACP. But I kind of wanted just to start off with the chart that I have, because 2016 version I did, the chart shows again that what Nicole Hannah-Jones, Ida Baywell said about Black Ascension, nothing holds. Like, and that's the problem. Is like, I know Tremaine. I sent Tremaine a couple of my videos less than 3 weeks ago. That's the gentleman that wrote the wealth inequality piece. He's a journalist. That should have been Sandy Darity writing that piece, or it should have been me. But we were never. Sandy Darity was asked, but we were never approached. The people that created ADOS understand that I'm somebody who basically introduced this rate to wealth in a way that nobody has before. And that article, I think, as a result, just lacked nuance. Like, one of the things it showed is that, middle black families were 17,000. Well, we know that 10,000 of that is the car. That's got to be in there. If you don't say that, it just looks like we just have 17,000 that just mismanaged it. But what we know is that this data is the spread of wealth. Pretty much everybody who wrote in that article is in the top group. So I say that just to you because the bottom half of the race is worth not just less than $1, probably about a negative $100 billion. Whereas the top 10% of our families have 2.25 or our little $3 trillion. We know it's $100 trillion, $107 trillion in household wealth. White folks have about 100. We have 3, but the top group is hoarding as well. Well, part of their job is to present a false narrative around ascension. So when you look at Ida Bay Wells, if you can pull up the Wikipedia, we got to talk about it. I said this about Jordan Peele. I said this about Tracy Silverstein. For me, my mama and my daddy had me at 16. I don't have no problem telling y'all that. I didn't start off telling y'all that, but it's time to get real. Both parents black, ADOS. Both parents didn't have their parents like that. Me writing at the Times is ascension. But when you read this, Hannah Jones grew up in Waterloo, Iowa, to a father, Milton Hannah, who is African American. She's ADOS, but your mama is Czech in English. And I say that because for the same reason I said this about Jordan Peele. I mean, Jordan Peele's more extreme because he had no relationship with the father. Here she does. I'm not taking that away from that. But what we see is that if you can inherit wealth and privilege through your white parent, you yourself are ADOS, and we accept you. And I don't challenge that, but you don't represent Black ascension. See, the reason they allow you to write is because, in a sense, you're more comfortable. And you would be. Your mama white. If we go hold Byron to the center of having a white wife, and we go talk about all of those things, we got to talk about parents being white too. And I'm not saying you had that choice. But at the end of the day, if you inherit wealth and privilege and grandparents and all of the things that come from a white advantage in America, end of the day, how do you represent Black ascension? You feel me, Yvette?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think in a lot of ways, what's starting to happen is, I'm not saying that biracial shouldn't be right here with us in the ADOS discussion. But when we get to a point where that's supposed to represent my story being at the Times, or a black kid in Louisville right now, or a black kid in Louisiana right now, it's just not. It's white people choosing somebody that reflects the background that they came from tonight. So I say all that just to say, when we come back to the data, if we can pull it back up, my mama don't come, my daddy don't come, my grandparents don't come from that top 10%. Somebody got to speak for the rest of the race. The rest of the race is the race because that's the part that's living this life. Bottom half of the race is worth negative money. Pretty much, if your family ain't in this top 10%, you out. When you look at the people that wrote in this piece, 9 times out of 10, everybody comes from this top group. If you're really trying to spread out the thing, you would have got different people from different segments of this, but you don't know this chart exists. You know why? Because me and Matt Brugman did this one. From the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. Most people had never, when I showed this to Derek, he had never seen it spread like this. They've never seen this. I had this in because I want to turn the corner and talk about Byron for a second, talk about this lawsuit. Again, I don't celebrate billionaires. But the fact that this Civil Rights Act of 1866 that sits on the back of slaves' rights to do business and law, we got to understand that it's not just about cable. It's our ability to challenge all of these companies. So, you know, like Hannah Jones celebrated the piece, do you own it? Do you own the content? Are you writing the piece for New York Times and then at the end, they give it back to you, you walk away, and you can sell it wherever you want to? I've been down this road with the Freeway Rick Ross documentary and had to deal with that. Been down this road of ownership. We're not supposed to own nothing. That's the question. See, when you say the barriers are down, yeah, the barriers are very easily down if you don't ask for reparations. If you don't demand transformative justice. If you just say it's a history lesson. See, the question becomes not whether they'll let you write about 1619. It's about whether they'll let you write about 2019. I feel like for a lot of us, that's hard to digest because we don't understand. Look, y'all keep telling me about billionaires. Forbes don't know. Forbes don't know. They don't know how many white billionaires there are. They don't really know none of the numbers, but kind of what's publicly out there. This man is worth several $1 billion. I don't know where the tally is at. I'll tell you that. But this man is worth several $1 billion. And I'm telling you, you can look at the assets. It ain't Ace of Spades and Uber stock. And so, like, I come back to it, and I'm saying to you, there's no reason that a black guy that owns just the Weather Channel, which is multi-billion-dollar asset, period. It just is. That is suing the Comcast using a slave law that's in the Supreme Court in a month shouldn't have been one of the key articles in that 1619 project. He should have been given carte blanche to write a whole article. And if the New York Times don't want to do that, then don't do the project. That's the work. And I don't know if we all understand that part of the reason, see, like in the PBS NewsHour, it's like the barriers are down. Well, the barriers don't seem down when you look at if this guy can't do nothing, what can we rest of us do? See, the barriers are down as long as you're saying it's a history lesson. But for me and Yvette, when we start saying it's about real multi-trillion-dollar reparations, the barriers are wide open, high as possible. They didn't even talk to us about can Adolf do a piece in this and what would that look like? No, they didn't understand. They didn't ask Byron either. And so, like, I'm saying all that just to say, and I come back to it, and I want everybody to understand because I don't want it to get twisted. I'm not saying that biracials are not Adolf. They fundamentally are. But what I am saying is that the world that we live in, and I've made this case before, if you can inherit wealth, it can come through two parents or one. And that wealth is not just money. It's the privilege and advantages of not coming from descended from slavery. So if you have a full parent that can give you that asset, that wealth, that transfer, you do not represent an ascension of blackness. You represent a reflection of whiteness. And it's not your fault. But don't sit in a chair and act like you came from my background where my mama and my daddy was 16. Both black, Alabama and Mississippi. So you are split. And I just feel like it needed to be said because I look at you as well. Everybody look at you and you like, no, I'm not your mama and daddy. We talking about two 70-year-old black folks.
They about 80 now.
Mama was a sharecropper.
Yep.
And people say this is a litmus test for black blackness.
Yeah, people look.
This is a litmus test for blackness.
Let me ask you. You're exactly right. People will look at me and Nicole Hannah-Jones and think that we're the same. Like, Yvette, you're lighter than her. What the hell, that man? Like, you don't know my family. You don't know my lineage. But let me ask you this, Tone, while I got you on the phone. What if people said, like, well, his Nicole Hannah-Jones' mama was a white poor person? Then what?
At the end of the day, there's still white privilege. See, like, like the cost of coming from slavery, full on brunt, it's just heavy, and I think it's heavier. It's just as heavy now as it's ever been. And the thing that I think happens is that you still have privilege, and you know, I'm not saying I know her story, but I think that at the end of the day, we don't want to get honest about. You don't get to say, like, I don't think that if that person is in your life, you get to walk around to other people who bear that full brunt of, like, what I went through in my childhood, and say you represent black ascension, Adolf's ascension, basically. Because a clear example is like Tracy Silverstein. If your dad is Jewish and he's in the schmuck business in the 70s and in entertainment and can make phone calls for you, when you become somebody that's an actress, yeah, your mama was involved. I'm not saying she didn't. But what's the difference between the phone calls that your mama made and the phone calls that some other person that's fully Jewish, your daddy made, and the phone calls that somebody that's fully Jewish daddy made? Or let's use another one. Obama inherited $500,000 from his white grandmother. Like, we don't know those things about Hannah Jones because she never told us. We just heard about the black daddy at the beginning of the story. But what you really needed to tell us is the full range of your experience, because also you're in Iowa. You're in Iowa. So you're in Iowa with a white mama and a black daddy. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I'm not saying that you didn't get a right to write this, help create it. I'm saying at the end of the day, when you went as far as to say, you represent black ascension. No, they don't want me to write, because they got you. But that's all I wanted to say.
All right, Tone as usual, bringing a fire. They don't want me because they got you. They don't want me, and they had asked Derry, and then they pulled out. So it wasn't like Derry said no. But I just want to make that clear. But you know, and that's probably because of the association with the group that's made this whole conversation possible, right? Well, it's a great, I agree. It's great history, but all these people are going to walk back to their lives and live their lives, and we're all going to be stuck here living our lives as ADOS people. That's not how good politics works. Just saying. I'm going now to 404. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Yvette.
Good evening.
And to the ADOS family, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yvette, I had to lay down on this one.
Oh.
I had to come and get in my bed. My head started hurting so bad because of everything that you were talking about. And then followed up with Tone. I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to go and get a glass of wine to get through this show. But I'm calling because I thought of something that really scared me. That granted, I can talk to you about Byron Allen, and I thought I was going to fall out of my chair when I heard him talking about, give Al Sharpton $50,000 a bucket of chicken. that was hilarious. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No, I just said that's his rent. That's all he needs. He good. He's straight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I noticed that Al Sharpton and his ilk, that National Action group of that corporation of poverty pimps, if you will, has been a detriment to our community for a long time. But it's hard to tell that to our people that, he to try to show him who he truly is. But I found it to be quite interesting when he went to Baltimore to speak on behalf of that congressman, how the people there were telling him to take his stuff home. Go home, Al. Go home. You're lying. Go home. Okay, so
did they? I didn't even see that. You schooling me now? I didn't even see that.
Oh, you didn't see that? Oh my goodness, it was great and wonderful, and I was cheering them on. I wish more of them was, telling him just boo, 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 go home, stop lying, But we're learning. We're opening our eyes. We're beginning to be able to see these people for who they truly are. And it's been a hard pill to swallow, but it is something that truly needs to be done. But what I wanted to share with you this evening in the family is something that really scared me.
Okay.
And I was thinking about how you schooled us on how in 2053 the wealth of the black community was going to be at zero or possibly negative. Am I right in stating that?
Yep.
Okay, so here I have a question for you, Yvette. Okay, so once we get there and we don't get the redress that we are owed, and we find ourselves in that time and space, Yvette, what will stop them from scuffling black people back into chattel slavery?
Well, you know what? I don't see. The thing is, well, nothing. That's your question, is nothing. But I don't think they even really need to do that. I think once you get rid of a group, you really get rid of a group. So I think what happens, either they warehouse us in jail or they warehouse us in homes, but they just take us out. Like, we're not necessarily, like, at that point, you're a redundant workforce. Like, you're a redundant group. Like, we don't need a redundant group. We already got this other group we brought in to work this, that, and the other. So you're a redundant group. So let's put this group in jail to make stuff, like in jail to sew stuff together if we can. If not, we got to house you at home or something. But you're a redundant group of people and you have no power.
Well, then they won't need the immigrants that are coming in to replace us either. And if they can get some free labor event, they got them a force of free labor. So, I brought that up to say this. I mean, I heard Dr. Claude Anderson speaking one day to that other person, and the only reason why I listened was so that I could listen to Dr. Anderson. Trust and believe that. But I heard him speaking one time, and he was talking about how slavery actually began back during the 1600s. That it wasn't something that came about overnight. It was a gradual process. It was gradual. It was beginning the laws that were being created to subject the people, the black people who were there, and then they started bringing them in. So they just started passing all these laws that ended them up in chattel slavery. And in this case, if Byron Allen loses this case, Yvette, there's yet another law to where we won't be able to fight in court anymore where we once were. And they just keep passing laws, and Trump is using his executive privilege to write in laws, that we once thought was a thing of the past, especially the law that Sessions brought in where he brought about mandatory minimums, and which extended the prison terms for people in prison that were going to be sentenced to prison. They had to do the mandatories again. Now we're back there, so it's scary. And 2053 is not that far away. And if there's ever been a time that we need to light a candle, to really put this thing in action, the time is now. We don't have that much time. If we can look at our kids and add the number of years that it will take, we're coming up on 2020. 2053 is just 33 years old. Some of our kids will be in, whatever stage they're in.
Let me just say this.
That's what they're going to be facing.
And I want to thank you for that call. I'm going to let you go just because I got to get to other callers. But I want to say this. It doesn't even, you don't even have to say like re-enslavement. Like, regardless of that. You have a kid who can't feed themselves. You have a kid who's basically a Skid Row kid. Like, countries have that all the time. It don't gotta be like, it doesn't have to be like what Joe Biden said. They're gonna put you back in chains. It has to be that. You just not feed yourself, so you live over here under the bridge. Until all of your group dies out. And groups do die out. Part of the reason that they're out is because of leadership that doesn't advocate for them in the right way. That's not full-throated enough. Right? That's not creative enough. That doesn't have enough political imagination. All of that. So you don't have to necessarily put a group back in slavery to just like, yeah, I got these people to work now. I don't need you to work because you're a citizen. I don't really want you to work for me. Because citizens have rights and you're a citizen. Just go chill out under the bridge in your little makeshift tent. That's all you got to do. That's what having no wealth means in America. I'm going now to 240-240. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Sister Yvette, this is Roz from the
What's going on, Roz? How you doing? What's up?
Ladies, we out here trying to educate people, aren't we? Let's do it. Let's
always.
I'm going to hurry it up with what I got. Regarding that 1619 project, how does one support words and stories of the people, but not the actions of ADOS?
Oh! You done said it. You done said
how
the word.
How does that happen?
You know,
now,
I don't know.
With Jelani Cobb, sister, he is sitting there talking about symbolic victories and not actual success. We need to throw whatever he's talking about in the trash, because right now we're on tangents. And if we can't put it in our hands, we can't walk on it, we can't feel it, it's not a tangible. It's just an idea.
Yeah.
Freedom, love, dreams. And all of that's they've been selling us dreams, and they've been living in reality.
Yeah.
We ain't got time for that anymore. So, I mean, the Angela Project is reparations, boots on the ground, not symbolic being sold out by the pound. We can't afford it. We can't afford to have people selling us out. So one thing I want to know, I want to answer your question. You said something about why are people standing there in this place. Either they're standing there to help or to hurt us. That's the only reason why people are standing there. And it's up for us to decide from what we know whether they're helping us or hurting us. That's dealing with a few of the subjects that we've been talking about. I learned that from my grandma. Either you are helping somebody or you're hurting them, one way or the other. Another thing, we're going to talk about ADOS Nation. One of the things that we all can do is put some action in place. I mean, the sister just called in. We heard her fears. Oh, my God, this is like right around the corner. We got like 20-something years to go, whatever the case may be. No. We're not doing that. We're going to make some things happen. One of the things that we could do is we could start reaching out to these black organizations and putting pressure on them, because they are in the place of the CBC, Urban League, and NAACP. So we can start making some phone calls to the National Black Justice Coalition, NBJC.org. We can also contact the National Black Women's Justice Institute. We can also contact NABOB, National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters. This Byron Allen case really affects them, don't you think? They own the broadcast. What about the National Association of Black Journalists? Why can't we reach out to them, families? Reach out. Let's do that. Let's reach out to these people and say, what are you all doing in regards to the Byron Allen case that's upcoming? We need to start putting that pressure on them. I guarantee you that if 1,000 of us, just 1,000, we're going to try to make it 2,000, start calling them and say, look, we need you to get behind Byron Allen in this Supreme Court case, because this directly affects you and your position. We need to get these lawyers on this case. We need to get these journalists, right?
Yeah.
Let's put some boots on. I'm not scared of nothing. But God. That's it. So what we all need to do is take that to heart. we need to go hard like that. So we can't be afraid. We Comcast, we're 40% of Comcast's customers. How about calling Comcast? I did. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing trying to sue this man? And
we need to demand, like you lost already in the appeals. Drop this joint. Drop your lawsuit. This is stupid. Like, drop this lawsuit. Like, we need to get the NAACP, the Urban League, everybody to demand that Comcast drop that lawsuit. It doesn't even make any sense that you are at the Supreme Court now when you have gotten knocked down a couple of times. Like, drop this. Like, we don't, because this law is bigger than any one individual. You are trying to strip us of our rights to an anti-discrimination law that was intended for us to benefit from. That's not about any individual. That's about a group.
Yvette, the fact that everybody does not yet know that ADOS don't know that they're ADOS yet. The fact that we don't know I'm talking about 40 million of us, don't know about the Angela Project. The fact that Adolf doesn't know about the Byron Allen suit against Comcast, or Comcast, I'm sorry, trying to take him to the Supreme Court, is a direct result of us not owning our own media with controlling ownership. We need to own the media.
And guess what, though? But guess what? Guess what? Regardless of what anybody thinks of it, Byron is he 100% owns his media. Not like there's other people, hint, hint, revolt, all y'all. But he 100% owns his media. That's what they don't want, though. When you said we need to own our media, like, they don't want him to own his media. I would love to own my own media where we talk politics and news. You know, I would love to own that. But, like, they're trying to get Byron out of here. So what does that say about somebody like me or a bunch of other people or anybody else who could use it? Because it's not just about media. You and I talk about that. But it's about a whole lot of other stuff in order to bring a suit. But what does that say to one man who 100% owns his media? They're trying to get him out of here. What that means is that they don't want us to own media.
They don't want us to own media, and they don't want us to own distribution, because once we have control of both elements, the ownership and production of the media and the distribution, like Byron Allen has, what we want to see is we want to see 1,000 black Byron Allens. That's what we want. That's what we need.
Yeah, we can have them doing 1,000 different things. Yeah, like it's just like they don't want me to come in here. So
look, everybody, let's just get power behind what we're doing and put some boots on the ground, and let's make these phone calls. Let's call. It's all on the web. We got it right at our fingertips. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's make Yvette have her own distribution. Tone have his own distribution. Let's blow this thing up. Let's make it happen, shall we? I'm out, sister Yvette.
All right, I appreciate you. Let me just say one other thing. I appreciate you as always. But let me just say something else. Like, let us all have opportunity. What they're trying to strip us of is our opportunity. While we're talking about ascension, they're trying to strip us of our opportunity to be American. They don't want to see another Byron. They're mad that he's in that space. And it doesn't matter that he's nice and he's smiling and he's done everything right and he's politically right and he's unlike Obama. I mean, what did Harry Reid say about Obama though? Like he's clean. They don't care that Byron's smiling and clean and well. They don't care. They make like they care. Like they say, well, I would hire you if you were more clean cut. I would do this for you. But when you get there and you're there, they're like, nah, you still a slave or whatever. We're not gonna do this over here. We don't care about what you've done to get here. We don't want you here. And that affects all of us in a negative way, shutting down the laws that we use to bring anti-discrimination cases. Trump's all in there, and nobody's saying nothing. So I'm going right now to 817. 817, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Yvette? This is Waypa, the stock market unicorn.
Ah, how you doing, unicorn? You're horn all right? You doing good?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing great. Hey, I'm going to be brief for you real quick. Okay. I just had two things, one real quick, and then I wanted to elaborate as far as on developing allies. Okay. I mentioned in the chat that I think it would be a very important thing to maybe consider attaching the ADOS hashtag to the Statue of Liberty symbol for a lot of reasons. Originally, it was ours.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Tied to us as a people, and also because it's the most universally recognized symbol around the world for freedom and liberty. Also, from a legal and a financial standpoint, there is no copyright or trademark protection that it enjoys because of its age. So it'd be an easy fix. I know you're very methodical and you move, very, very smooth and very knowledgeable. But I would just hope that you would consider to attach that to us.
Oh, I appreciate that, fam. Yeah, I'm smooth. I'm like Pink Panther out this thing. So yeah, I appreciate that. I it's funny. I had planned originally for a Statue of Liberty ADOS shirt, and I kind of everything that happened, I kind of lost frame of it. But yeah, that's interesting. I think I should go back to that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm gonna let you continue, fam.
Okay, and then also as far as developing allies, I live in a predominantly upper middle class, white folks, kind of like the history of my job and stuff, and I find myself getting into these conversations a lot with people, and let's face it, white folks don't have to deal with this issue if they don't want to necessarily because of the enjoyment they have politically, the the majority population that they have, and most importantly financially. So what I generally do with people that I know is I give them the example of Jerry Jones' great grandparents, and I say, look, imagine Jerry Jones' great grandparents doing some unscrupulous business practice, was able to get the city sheriff and the local city council to move you off of your grandparents off of their land. Then he took that money that he benefited from the grandparents from developing that land, and they got rich. Then by the time it got to Jerry Jones, he was able to have enough money to eventually buy the Dallas Cowboys. Then he used the Dallas Cowboys' profits to make Texas Stadium in Arlington. Then now he's making all this money. Imagine if you found out that your great-grandparents owned the land that his great-grandparents stole and then got rich off of it. But then, to exacerbate it, not only did they do that, they made the money off of the back of that land that would have produced for your family. They used that money to buy the Dallas Cowboys. They built the Cowboys Stadium, but there's another caveat. They used your relatives to help build that stadium and then refused to pay the contracts. Even 100 years later, if you became aware of that information, anybody would want redress, and that's what speaks to our justice claim. The fact, and then for them to say, when you brought the issue to the Dallas Cowboys organization, they said, no, you can't get no season tickets, you can't come to any of these games without paying us.
Locked
Your
out.
little kid can't go to
Locked
Pop
out.
Warner little programs with us. You just get locked out of the entire thing, and you have to sit on the outside knowing that your family 100 years ago had the land and then was also forced, basically by virtue of not getting paid, to build all of that capital. Anyone would understand that justice claim, and that's the one that I use. So it was nice speaking with you all. I'll just wait to hear if you got any feedback, and you have a great evening.
You have a great evening as well. Here's the thing, fam. What he's describing is being locked out, and it's worse than just being locked out. Like people always say, "Well, people in the third world have it worse." We're in the richest country in the world. That's not my standard, but it's even worse. We have it worse than them in this sense. They're just born poor, like, and their government did them wrong, or whatever the case may be. They don't have a justice claim, and they don't have to sit outside the window. Like there's like a window, this glass window, where we get to see people eat our food. Like the thing that we built, it created a massive amount of wealth. And so we, like he described, we have to sit outside that window and watch other people eat. That's torture. Not only is it wrong, like we're wrong and we're being psychologically tortured every day. That's awful, fam. And like, we have to do something about it. We don't have to just do what people tell us to do either. We can make up our own minds. We're smart people. We don't have to do that. We don't have to just, well, you just got to vote blue no matter. Somebody said, vote blue no matter who. You's a fool. No, I'm not doing that. 323. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello.
What's going on, 323?
Yeah. This is Carl McCrary, calling
on,
from
Carl?
California, Los Angeles. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. How are you?
Good. I listen to your show a lot. I appreciate the work you're doing. You guys, you and Tone do a wonderful job. I wanted to talk about us as black people, ADOS, doing more than what we used to, doing more of the same thing. In terms of, we protest, we educate ourselves on the black struggle, we even push back against the gatekeepers. But I've been watching this whole thing, and it looks like we're going to need white people that are our allies to really step up and help us. Because the way white America look at us is, you know, is we're going to keep them back. Every time we give them an inch, they take a mile. Starting from Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali. In sports, everything we do, they've seen us excel. So I feel like people like Marianne Williamson, she spoke out for black people. So I think ADOS, sorry about that, we need to connect with her in a real kind of way. And I think we haven't done that enough. We need to connect with more white people that's for us. And I believe that they may be a little afraid of us But I think they want to help, but they just a little afraid because they know that there's guilt on them, and they know that we are angry and frustrated about our struggle. We watching young black men get shot and gunned down in the street unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a reason to be upset, and they know it. But I think, and I'll end with this. I believe people like Marianne Williamson is somebody that really would step up to the plate if we really reach out to her in a real way. So, and I've heard you speak about we need our allies. I totally agree with that. But I think it's going to take in other words, they'll listen to white folks quicker than they will us to help give us a leg up.
Well, I think when I talk about allies, I mean white people. Well, I mean white people too. I don't just mean I mean white people too. Like, that's how I treat you and engage you. You got to show me that you're a real ally. And we've talked about my own kind of litmus test for that. But I'm not dealing with no people who are not real allies anymore. I'm beyond that space. I'm not trying to convince you. You know, if you ask me, I'll give you the information. I'll tell you where to go. But I'm not, listen, you either in or you out. I'm not having this whole thing with you where I have to try to convince you and beg you and all this stuff. Nah, you're either an ally or an enemy. Like, that's it. Ally or enemy. There are no in-betweens for me. But thanks, fam. I appreciate you. But I totally.
Do you feel like Marianne Williamson is the ally that's ready to
listen. Marianne's done enough. Like, this, in the sense of, like, because of her, and I want to thank you for calling in. Because of her, we have reparations. It got mentioned twice, and like we got mentioned in debates on the national stage because your black people weren't gonna mention it. Your white liberals weren't really gonna get into it. So it got mentioned. Like, she's doing and has done what she does. We have to use what she's doing too to kind of push other people about what they got to do and how they got to be. And what, you know, like, it's transformational politics or nothing, fam. Like, I'm not coming out to vote for you. I'm gonna go vote and I'll vote down ballot. But if you talking, if we've been making this case for reparations for a long time. If you come out here and you still talking stupid, I'm gonna go to my polling place regardless. But what I do when I get there depends on you, Mr. or Mrs. Politician. What I do when I get there depends on you. Whether or not you're able to turn my state, a red state, blue, depends on you. It's not me. Don't try to blame me after the fact. Well, y'all voted this and down bad, but you didn't do this. No, don't blame me. Blame your candidate. Get your candidates in check. We are voters, and we are into voter expression. We are expressing ourselves, and we will work with you. I will more than gladly meet with you, have a conversation with you. I will do all of that. Just let me know. I'll do all of it. But I'm not going to just sit idly by as my community descends into freaking third world, well, below third, we're already third world in a lot of places, below third world status, and drink lead water while you tell me, oh, we just got to get a Democrat in there. That is something I'm not doing. Just understand that. I'm going to a 914. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, my name is Lamar. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Hello, Lamar.
I figured I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right. So last week I called an NAACP out here in Atlanta and left a message about the whole Byron Allen thing. Today they called me back at around 8:30.
At night, so in the morning or at night?
Go ahead.
I say in the morning or at night. That sets the tone for me.
At night, literally like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. So I got on the phone with dude, and he pretty much told me that the NAACP and local chapters doesn't speak on national issues.
Yeah, that comes from the headquarters.
Especially pertaining to this case. Excuse me?
I said, yeah, that comes from headquarters. Like, the headquarters need to send out the clarion call, like, we're supporting this, and then they get ramped up.
I guess my question would be, so how could people work together locally to get something to get, like, you know, a grassroots movement together? Because if the NAACP won't, if I have an issue and I'm local and they won't say anything about it until the national hits them up, then, you know, what do I do?
Well, I think you can pressure your local NAACP, right? Because they report back to national and say this is becoming a real issue in my where I am. But your local NAACP went off on ADOS a long time ago. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there was a few months ago where they were just talking trash on Twitter about how ADOS wasn't nothing. I don't know who was handling their Twitter account, but they were talking. It was like a C-level rapper was just handling that stuff. So hiccups. So I'm saying that to say that, but I think you know, a lot of this pressure has to go to the national headquarters. Why do I have the hiccups now? Why? The national headquarters, because they're the one who decided this and be like, why aren't you doing something with this Byron Allen case? Like, what is going on with you? Like, I think that's how, because, and even with our local chapters, you have to put pressure on national too. Like, listen, this is going on locally with me. I contacted your NAACP office, and they said they ain't doing nothing without you. So where you at?
Yeah. All right, I appreciate that. I'm going to put the pressure on the national chapters. But as far as Atlanta goes, isn't Comcast seeing that all that in Atlanta? But that's just my observation.
That's a whole nother thing, fam. I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. I'm going to go to another caller that I can get to really, really quickly. I'm going to 913. 913, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Mohammed from Brooklyn.
What's going
on?
Just
a couple of things that I wanted to say. Not much. I got a headache like crazy, like the last caller or a few calls back. But anyway, one thing I want to say is with all these journalists, civil rights people, the bourgeoisie, all these people coming out of the woodwork talking about slavery, 1619, all this stuff. You know, one of the things that you do that is probably the most powerful thing that you probably do, among many powerful things that you all do, is the book club. We've read the books. We know, you know, when affirmative action was white, we know that has never been told. We know, you know, how the Irish became white. We know that. We know the history. You know, you can ask your grandmother, like a caller said a few months back or a few weeks back. You know, everybody was still alive. This 1619 thing is like, oh, this is a commemorative, like a team just won a championship and now you can buy the T-shirt and the booklet to go with it. We know all this. We don't need that. Well, another thing we don't need is all these people coming out the woodwork speaking out. Like, remember the Reconstruction documentary? Hello?
Yeah, I remember. Go ahead, fam. Keep talking.
Yeah. So you've seen your boy Mr. Cobb come out of nowhere to be a part of that. He's a part of this, and you know, there's no room for bougie fences. You can't be the guy who hops out and then say, "Oh, I'm for black people. I'm for ADOS. I'm for, you know, whatever," and then don't say, "Oh, full-throated, I'm for reparations. I'm for restorative justice for this group of people." There's no charity. There's no organization that you're going to start. There's none of that that's going to fix us. We know what we need. Everybody knows what we need. And there ain't no,
And here's what I would say, fam. I would even say, like, there's no problem with having more history, right? But my thing is that it's kind of like what you said, but I would take it even further. I would say we need more than history, right? Like, if you had ended all that history with the call to justice in terms of reparations, now we own some. I've laid the foundation, and I'm going to say reparations, we need reparations, and I'm going to make that my project. Like, that's going to become my project, too, in my life. Like, if reparations isn't going to become your project, then don't talk, because that's what we have to have. It's not just like you talking about what happened and we're here now. I don't need history that's just history. I need history to work for me and my group. I need history to put on boots and work for us. I don't need history just to be history. And if you can't breathe life into history and make it get busy for me, then why do I need you? That's how I feel.
No, I agree 100%. You're right. We do need more history, but people need to understand the history we already got. Read the books that we already had. There's enough of them. There's tons of them. Like, you know, I'm almost 30. I didn't know about these books, and I read every day. Not all of them, but some of them I had never read. But my last point is, you know, I hear you guys sometimes say, you and Tom, you know, say you commend X, Y, and Z person for doing, you know, whatever, for like LeBron James' example for the school. And you know, I wouldn't need those. I wouldn't use those qualifiers, because to me, it would be like watching somebody stand on top of the roof
and trying to jump off and jumping off and saying I'm trying to fly, and then we say, oh, we commend you for trying to fly because you jumped off. You took the bravery and took the time to jump off. But no, we know it don't work. We've already been there. We know education don't get us where we need to be by itself. We know certain jobs don't get us to where we be by itself. So just you with this or you're not. That's it. And if you're not, then move around.
And let's qualify what being with us means, though. Being with us means that you are demanding trillions.
Being with us means advocating for us.
Yes, but what that specifically means in terms of reparations is demanding trillions from the American government and possibly other enterprises as well, like that. What we were talking about, the train coming out, it means trillions. You are demanding trillions from the United States government just to begin with. That's what you're doing. I didn't see that. I need to see that multi-trillion-dollar demand from you. I didn't see that. And if I don't see that, what I really think is that you're not serious. This is not serious for you.
Yeah, no, you can't be serious. You're playing the bench. You're being cowardly. You're not standing on a position that you know. And I don't care if you're around your bourgeoisie friends. I don't care if you're around your sorors. I don't care if you're around your grandmother who got the most expensive house on the block. You know what you need because you know every morning you look at your bank account. You know you're counting. Well, I got $10 for gas or $2.90. Can I afford to get to and from work? You know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows their own personal finance, and you can't live off of your dreams. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, fam. No, I appreciate you calling. You can't live. He said that he dropped the reel at the end. You can't live off of your dreams. Like dreams don't fill the grumbling stomach. Your grumbling belly is not filled up with dreams. It's not filled up with anything Jay-Z said, anything anybody else said. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. I'm going right now to 646. 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Miguel from New Jersey.
What's going on, Miguel?
How you doing? I want to comment on that other caller that called in and talked about how we need help from white people. I really don't see that as a reality.
Okay.
I think back to something that you said a few months ago that's always stuck in my mind. And I hope I get this right. You talked about like the white liberal woman that's like your neighbor, and she'll bake a pie, and she'll come on over and she'll talk to you and be your friend and whatever. But when she goes behind that voting booth, who is she really voting for? Is she voting for change, equality, or wealth, disbursement or whatever? No, they're voting for the status quo. And I just don't think that they truly want, no matter how liberal they may be, no matter how nice they may be, how many black friends they have, I don't think they will ever truly want to see equality across the board, particularly when it comes to wealth or access to wealth, because it's more competition. I mean, the way you're breaking down racism, my understanding now of it, whiteness is not necessarily white skin, it's the way blackness is not necessarily brown skin. I just see us as competition. I don't ever see them really truly helping us.
All right, fam, I hear you.
I'm not saying I don't want this, but
no, I said I hear you. I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying we shouldn't look for it or turn it down. The clearer you and Tone talk about this, the more I understand that we're their food. We are their food, and I just don't want us to get sidetracked with hoping that they will. I think we have to just put the pressure on them and say, hey,
no, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Like,
I totally agree. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you calling in. I'm gonna get to some more calls, but I totally agree with you. I don't think we sit around and hope for anything. Like, everything responds to pressure, not applause. Like politicians, but everybody else, they respond to pressure. You can't hope for them to do anything or hope for them. We've been explaining to them forever how awful this is. Well, you gotta understand. How many books explain that? I can't do it this way. I can't sit around hoping and wishing. Like, I have to pressure you to, like, do this. And I have to tell you, like, if we're Democrats and we vote Democrats, like, maybe your Democrats might fail if you don't do right by me. Like, that might come to that. I hope it doesn't. I hope you realize this is real. And you have to come to the table with some substantive, you know, kind of tangible policies for us. Because there's a carrot on one hand and there's a stick on the other hand. The carrot is we'll come out in massive numbers and vote for you. Reparations 2020. That's the carrot. The stick is you might lose if you don't do it. Right? Carrot and stick. I don't know. People want us only to carry carrots. No, we got sticks too. Boo boo. Going to 323. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Miss from LA. I have a question because I'm kind of confused,
Okay.
and I'd like for you to talk to me as if I was a 3-year-old.
Okay.
What I'm confused about, maybe I don't understand what the DOJ stands for and what they're supposed to be doing, but I'm
Department of
want to
Justice.
know how is it that the department. I know what it. I know
Okay.
it stands for the acronym. What I'm saying is, from what I understand, the function is, how is Donald Trump able to use the DOJ to go against Byron Allen?
What do you mean how?
I'm just saying, how is that even possible to use the DOJ?
Well, see, you can
to go
always
against
see what you
Donald
can
Trump?
always do. Understand, and I think I remember this correctly. When marriage equality for the LGBT community came up, Obama did the same thing. So you can put your finger on the scale in a sense, right? As a president, and say, I'm siding with this, and signal to the Supreme Court that you're siding with it, and put your DOJ on it. Like, and that's really important to the person who's filing. If the White House comes out in favor of you, they're tipping the scales in favor of you. And so you saw that happen for marriage equality, right? Obama had his piece, had the DOJ on it, and they briefed, and so that happened. You can't tip the scales in that way to show favor in terms of how you want this to turn out. So that has happened before. The problem is how it's happening now. He's putting his finger on the scale against anti-discrimination law, against the laws that were put in place to protect ADOS. So it's a different thing now in terms of what you're doing. But yeah, you absolutely can do it as a White House.
Okay, thanks. That makes clarification. I understand.
All right, I appreciate you, fam. Thanks for calling in. I am going now to 281. 281, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. What's going on?
Oh, great. Okay. I'm the one who, my name is Linda out of Houston, and I had a few things I disagreed with, but just to kind of,
Okay.
Put something, on everybody's mind. I was just thinking when they talk about, someone was mentioning Marion. I have a few things. Marion Wilson, I think Marion Wilson.
Williamson.
The woman who's on the Democrat candidate. Yeah, Williamson. Don't so much. I really want us to be careful about the Democratic Party. The history of it. Sometimes we get these people basically just dangle the fear carrot and the reparations carrot. Nobody said anything about this with Obama. No one even expected it. But she's not an ally. Okay, you think she's not an ally. Anyone they put on that side basically is for socialism. Some other things that we may not know. Joe Biden wrote the crime bill that locked up a whole lot of black men, and with these long.
Yeah, we did a whole show on that, fam. We did a whole show on Joe Biden, fam. We know that.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. Well, because and also when it's about the 14th Amendment, someone was she didn't really hit about the 14th Amendment. President Trump highlighted that last October. That's mostly for the descendants of slaves. I want us to go back and read it. I did a video on it on my little channel. It's one video. Because what's happening is the Democrats have totally bulldozed over us. And given all these other people, even diplomats and people from nationals who are working with America, even if they give birth over here, their children aren't citizens. The Democrats and two Republicans have allowed it. They just done this. There's been an agenda to, flood the country illegal people.
But do you have anything to say about the topics of tonight?
Huh?
Do you have anything to say about tonight's topics? 1619 and Byron Allen.
So you're saying about Byron Allen. My question is, what is Byron Allen's, his Weather Channel have to do with black people? Because what I've noticed is that when most black people, quote, get money, these wealthy black people are mostly on the left. They're not in the business of telling us the truth.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, you don't. She said, "Thank you, fam. Lord, I'm hang up on you now. Don't say please don't, because you said mostly on the left. Like, do you know any of Byron Allen's history? Like, when you say on the left, like you don't, do you show me that you don't know anything? Like, because the other complaint initially he donated to Joe Biden. This time was like he's a black Republican. Like, so I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, you have to do the research before you call in. You can't call in and like not know who Byron Allen is. But even beyond that, this is bigger than Byron Allen. That my whole show was talking about how this is bigger than Byron Allen, and then you call in talking about Byron Allen. Like, you don't understand. You're coming in with like talking points that you've written down that somebody gave you or something, and that's a problem for me. All right, 757. I'm coming to you. 757. What's going on? You there, 757?
What's up, Yvette Carnell?
What's going on?
How you doing, Yvette Carnell? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, look. You know, your girl, we're right back to what you always talk about. These people are plugging in their work. If you go down the bio of Nicole Hannah Jones, and I love her work on education.
Me
I told
too.
you I talked to her, used some of her work going against Roland Martin. But if you follow her, she's gone from Durham, North Carolina, to Portland, to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, back to New York, all talking about education. So if you know and you're documenting all the ills that this country has put upon us, how in the world can you go on a program and literally use the phrase that you want to applaud the bevy of fact checkers that helped you put this thing together and not have Adrian West involved in it? I went straight at her the same way I did with Eddie Gow. Look, we don't need people giving us a postmortem. We got enough undertakers. We know what the damage is. How in the world can you be a document all of this and not be an activist? We don't need stenographers. How can you be that steeped in the history of what this country has done to us and then write a fluff piece like that to 1619 talking about ascension? It makes no sense unless you're stuck on the same mess that Narc and Cobra is. Plug it in your work. You're profiting from documenting the ills, but it doesn't move you to be an advocate, to agitate for us, to instigate for us. You got to be drawn to the wayside. I was upset. I couldn't even sleep. I literally had to put a tweet up, and I just said, I can't take this. I'm parking this at you. Because I said to myself, I don't want to go there all nasty. But I literally put a tweet string of 4 or 5 tweets showing her, this is ridiculous. You cannot be this deep in the truth. And then I find out, after I got upset and started digging, I find out she's got some other stuff about her. Her husband was the president of one of the PTAs there, locally in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area. So when hooked on to de Blasio, the mayor, when they got ready to gentrify a neighborhood next to them, they literally came to her neighborhood and explained to them and got them to help them sell it to the people that they were gentrifying. How in the world can you claim to be pro-black, document all of these ills, and you not be an advocate? There's something wrong with that. I'm kind of like with Tone with this. You cannot be appeasing your family members at our expense. You can't have that microphone and have that mouthpiece and tell us all the ills and then step back and say, but we're doing better than we could, when you got all the information to show us not. I can tell you why they didn't get Darity in there. Because the numbers and the data don't support the bullshit they wrote. It makes absolutely no sense, Yvette. And we have to start going at these people. When you tweet them, You got to flood their inbox and run them off of Twitter. It's the only way to do it. If you want to stay on Twitter, writing that mess, I got another one for you. How in the world is Cheryl Eiffel not in this? She's head of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. How come she doesn't have an amicus brief for that? It makes no sense. We need to run these people off of Twitter. And I don't mean name calling. Flood their whole Twitter line with ADOS and don't talk and run them off of Twitter. If you don't want to do right by us, we will occupy that space. And I literally told her, I'm parking this on your block.
I'm parking this on your block.
Do that. That's not how any of this should work. And I'm telling you, the family has got to learn to do that. Stop with the lights. Find these articles. Park it on their Twitter lines. Run them off of Twitter. If you don't want to do right by us, you've got no business out here claiming black. Be something else. Stay with your diversity. Much love to the family, to the work.
All right, Otis. As always, we love you. Otis said you got no place out here claiming black, and he gonna park his car on your block. He don't care. You gonna park it right here, and you bet not move it. And I'm with him. You gonna park it on your block. It's just too much. It's just too much. I'm going to 314. 314. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Matt. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from Ferguson. I'm ADOS.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, I finally got in. Okay, so basically, I have a few comments.
Okay.
One is about the Byron Allen.
Okay.
I think that we need to pay close attention to how they're trying to play the situation. And by Byron Allen being a part of the 10% that has wealth gap, then if they don't give a fuck about
language, ma'am, language.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. If they don't give a doggone about how they're trying to sabotage what he's trying to accomplish with this discrimination or with this lawsuit, I can relate because I'm ADOS. My children are ADOS. And I can relate because I have a claim for EEOC. And the thing about it is, I'm kind of a little bit shaky, but the thing about it is, before I even had the opportunity, they pushed me out so that my claim would be a part of a statute of limitations. And my thing is basically just trying to be honest. We have to stick together. And as far as with the other part about the Williamson, we need to use our allies and stuff like that. Part of my claim with the ELC and the discrimination that I was facing on the job, it was I had allies. But when it came down to it, they couldn't identify with what I was actually going through because they looked over it. And it was basically part of being discriminated on with promotions that I was qualified for, but they weren't. So I got disqualified for promotions for like 3 different job promotions that I should have gotten. But my point is just when people try to be like, well, you got to know where you come from. You got to know who you are. You have to teach your children. I don't have like a lot of family members that I can come and talk to them about ADOS, but you best believe I'm teaching my kids about it now. Another thing I wanted to make a point of was the fact of that list that we need to have like posted so that we can know who the resources, who to get in contact with or to call them and let them know that we standing on this ADOS thing and we're not voting until we get our justice. And we're still in slavery. So people need to wake up and, really put in the work. And if you got to volunteer for it, do it because it's important. And why I'm saying is because I have kids. I have children that I'm concerned about. I'm looking at them. I'm like, damn. Excuse my language. They don't have opportunity. I don't got opportunity. But this is all because people have stolen from us. This is all because people want to shut us out. So basically, that's what I want to say. And I'm from Ferguson. I walked through it. I've seen it. We also need to get some young folks involved in this too. And we need to keep on pushing this because this is a matter of life and death. And we have to start taking it personally.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate that. I appreciate you calling in, fam. I appreciate
that. And I
that.
thank you and Tone Talk for all that you guys are doing. And, I salute.
Appreciate it, fam. Appreciate it. And I want to that's going to be my last call for the evening. If I didn't get to you, I apologize. But yeah, fam, we got to start, a lot of us are doing the work. We got to keep doing the work, but other people got to do the work too. Like, part of the problem is it can't just be us. Like, I was reading the comment in the YouTube comment section, and it was like, the woman said she had a friend, and the friend doesn't do no politics, and the friend told her, and she asked the friend, like, well, what you going to do without politics? The friend said, well, I trust you and your groups do all the politics. That's not how politics works. You don't get to trust me and then eat what I get, like what happens based off what I do. That's not how it works. Like, everybody got to be in here because there's a win for everybody. You just can't wait for us to build a win. Like, wait for us to push the boulder up the hill and you just come afterwards and just chill out. That's not how it works. So, fam, please do not forget. Please do not forget about the book club. Haven't set a date, but this is going to be the book. Where do we go from here? Chaos of Community, Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to have some conversation about, some of our leaders and go that route. That's something that we're going to do. Something that we got to do. There are no deities here. So do not forget about that. Also, please hit that like button before you leave. Like you hitting the light when you go out. Just hit that like button for me. That's important. If you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/WaCarnell. Also, the newsletter subscribe link is in the description, as well. If you want to buy a shirt or something, ADOSmerch.com is in the description as well. I'll be sending those out. Some of those out probably next week. I sent a few out like last week. So please take care of that. Pay attention to that. Subscribe to brown.com. Subscribe to brown.com. Not the number 2. Just subscribe to brown.com. Add yourself to my mailing list. Cost you no money. Please do that for me if you have not already. And fam, share the video, have the conversations that you need to have that'll let you know where everybody stands. Please do that. If you have not hit that bell already, if you came on here and you haven't hit the bell to get actual, if you haven't hit the bell so that you can get notifications when I'm on, please do that as well. And fam, finish your libation, and I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening.